We are getting new information about this investigation from Birmingham Police with Birmingham Police Officer Truman Fitzgerald.
Our team coverage continues now while you're on your site investigator Jonathan Hardison, who is live at the police headquarters. Jonathan, what are you hearing?
Yes, Sarah, we're going to be transparent with you and our viewers as much as possible. We had hoped to talk directly to Chief Thurman this afternoon. Honestly, they are so busy today working this case, bringing in new leads, working to try and marshal all these resources. He is in a meeting as we speak, addressing some of this. We are joined now exclusively by Officer Truman Fitzgerald, kind enough to spend some time with us. First question we heard from you guys this morning: what have you developed in the case in the hours since then?
Crime Stoppers just reached out to us, and they have said that since the press conference, their phones are ringing off the hook. Bob Copus just called us recently and told us they've been receiving multiple tips just since the press conference.
And certainly the $100,000 reward, of which $50,000 comes from Crime Stoppers, without having to get an arrest or give your name, certainly has something to do with that, I would assume.
It's like Mr. Bearfield said, it's life-changing.
Let's talk about the investigation now and the impact it's had on your officers. We just heard from Bria Chapman about the first responders from the fire department. You had a lot of officers on scene who saw a lot of blood, a lot of bodies, a lot of carnage there. This is, unfortunately, the fourth quadruple homicide you have had to work this year, the second mass shooting in just a couple of months. What impact does that have on your department?
These cases just don't impact our officers professionally, they affect our officers personally. I've spoken with so many officers who either knew one of the victims or was related to one of the victims.
Talk about, as you go forward, the public has the opportunity to help. What is it specifically you're looking for? I know you looked for video evidence, you asked anybody who was there at the time. Specifically, is there something the public can be doing to help and try and get these shooters off the street?
Right now, anything. There's no information that's too small. Just like we said on the scene, we're not going to discount any information that we receive, and we just want the public to know when you send in tips, you will be completely anonymous.
We heard from the mayor this morning and the chief about the dangers that Glock switches, which we are not sure yet was used in this case, but it certainly looks like it. Those devices are now banned federally. What would a state law change do, and how does that solve a problem when so many of these are already on the streets and criminals are using them, frankly don't care about laws to begin with?
One, we would not have to depend 100% exclusively on our federal partners to prosecute. We would have our own legislation. And then two, if you dive into the elements of the crime federally, it's difficult to convict someone for possessing a Glock switch. So hopefully our state legislators will get a bill, pass it, and the elements will help assist our officers.
We've seen so many of those federal prosecutions of Glock switches cases just in this area this summer. That's going to take some of them off the streets. What's it going to take to get more of these weapons, and specifically those devices, off the street?
Well, most certainly, once we have that legislation from a state level, our officers will have another tool in their toolbox, similar to how we saw what exhibition driving did for the problem that we had with exhibition driving. Once we got something passed on the state level, our officers were armed with a legislative tool immediately.
The chief mentioned this morning how much of this is an all-hands-on-deck case. Every precinct was called in Saturday night. But you guys are working down an undetermined number of officers. We hear it's almost 300. You've got multiple cases of multiple homicides that you're working. Our city's got 114 homicides now. It was 87 at this point last year. There's a lot of workload and reduced manpower. How is this not stretching your department to the breaking limit in a case of this size?
This is stressful for anyone in any department, but I think this just speaks to how the Birmingham Police Department and our personnel are not only the best in the state, they're the best in the nation at what they do.
Finally, officer, when can we expect to hear from you guys again? When will we get the next update on this investigation?
We will keep you guys updated as soon as we get it and it's ready to go out. We're going to keep you 100% in the loop. Our public deserves to know information, and we're going to make sure they receive that information.
Finally, this was considered to be an area that is safe to go in at night. Do you still consider it to be that even after this?
It's safe. This was an isolated incident, and this speaks to the criminal element and what they're capable of. And it's time as a city, like Mayor Wolfen said, we stop offering safe harbor to these victimizers.
That's Officer Truman Fitzgerald from Birmingham Police. Again, he, the chief, and the rest of the staff are working hard today, trying to get leads into a case that is now almost 48 hours old. In Birmingham, your reporter, Jonathan Hardison, WBRC 6 News, on your side.